It was 1:17 a.m. on County Road 12, and I gave her a ride. A young girl in a tattered prom dress, shivering in the rain. She said she was heading home, her voice barely louder than the wind. I drove her to the address she gave me, but when I got there, the back seat was empty. And when I told someone about it, an old man looked at me and said, "You're the 37th person to pick her up on that stretch of road." I was driving home after a rough night. 8 years hauling logistics, and I'd just been laid off. A going-away party at a dive bar left me sober but exhausted, crawling along County Road 12 in rural Illinois. It's the kind of road where the fog clings like a second skin, and the headlights barely cut through it. Trees loomed on both sides, their branches scratching at the sky. My radio was busted, so it was just me, the hum of my old pickup, and the occasional flicker of a deer in the distance. I was lost in my thoughts, bills, job hunts, the works when I saw her. She was standing on the shoulder, half illuminated by my headlights. A teenage girl, maybe 17, in a prom dress that looked like it belonged in a vintage shop. It was pale blue, soaked through, clinging to her frame as she hugged herself against the rain. Her dark hair was plastered to her face, and she was holding out a thumb, the universal sign for a ride. I hesitated. It was late, and I didn't need trouble, but her eyes pleading, almost glowing in the dark, made me pull over. I rolled down the window. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded, teeth chattering. "Can you take me home?" She climbed into the back seat, leaving a faint damp spot on the upholstery. "Thanks," she whispered, her voice soft, like it was carried on the wind. I asked where she was headed. 1248 Willow Creek Lane, she said, clear as day, without checking a phone or hesitating. My friends ditched me. I glanced at her in the rearview mirror. Her head was turned toward the window, her face pale, almost translucent in the dim light. "You go to prom tonight?" I asked, trying to make small talk. She didn't answer, just kept staring out into the rain. We passed a gas station, its neon sign buzzing like a dying firefly. "You want to grab something warm to drink?" I offered, thinking she looked half frozen. "I don't have any money," she said quietly. Then, out of nowhere, she leaned forward. "What year is it?" Anyway, I laughed, thinking it was a joke. 20 charm. "You been out of it or something?" The silence that followed was heavy, like the air before a storm. I glanced back. Her eyes were fixed on me, unblinking, and for a split second, I swore the temperature in the cab dropped. The GPS led me to Willow Creek Lane, a quiet street lined with old houses and older trees. My hands were trembling on the wheel, though I didn't know why. The air felt thick, like someone was breathing just behind my neck. I kept my eyes on the road, too afraid to glance at the rearview mirror again. The address was a 2-story home, Victorian style, with a single porch light flickering like it was on its last legs. I pulled into the driveway, my heart hammering, and forced myself to turn around. "We're here," I said. The back seat was empty. No wet spots, no indent on the cushion, no sign she'd ever been there. My breath caught, and I sat frozen, too scared to move. I couldn't drive away. My legs felt like lead as I stepped into the rain, my jacket soaking through. I knocked on the door, half expecting no one to answer. An old man opened it, his hair white as bone, his eyes sunken but sharp. "Sorry to bother you," I stammered, my voice barely steady. "Did a girl just come in here?" I gave her a ride. He stared at me, then motioned me inside. On the mantel above the fireplace was a framed photo, a girl in a pale blue prom dress, smiling softly. Next to it, a plaque, "In loving memory, Emily Grace, 1982-99. The old man's name was Harold. He poured me a coffee, his hands trembling. "That was my Emily," he said. "Died in a car crash on County Road 12, night of her prom. Drunk driver took her out." His voice cracked. "Since then, people keep seeing her, picking her up, driving her here. She always vanishes before she gets to the door." He looked at me, his eyes searching. "You're not the first. Won't be the last." Harold told me the story had become a legend around these parts. The prom girl of County Road 12. Truckers, late-night commuters, even kids on dares swore they'd seen her. But no one had ever come to the house, seen the photo, or talked to Harold. I was the first to confirm it wasn't just a ghost story. "People think it's a prank," he said. "But you saw her. You felt her." I nodded, my throat tight. I couldn't shake the image of her eyes in my rearview mirror. Before I left, Harold grabbed my arm. "If you see her again," he said, his voice breaking, "tell her I forgive her. She blamed herself for sneaking out that night. Tell her to come inside this time. Don't let her disappear." I didn't know what to say. His pain was raw, like a wound that never healed. I promised I'd try, though I didn't know if I'd ever see her again. Driving home, I felt like I was carrying something heavier than myself. 3 weeks later, I was on County Road 12 again. Same time, same rain, same fog. I told myself I wasn't looking for her, but my eyes kept drifting to the shoulder, and there she was. Same dress, same thumb out, same desperate look. My pulse raced as I pulled over. She climbed in, and for the first time, she smiled a small, sad curve of her lips. "You again," she said, like we were old friends. I didn't ask questions this time. "Let's get you home." "Emily," I said. Her eyes widened, like she hadn't heard her name in years. The drive was quiet, but it felt different, calmer, like the air was holding its breath. When we reached Willow Creek Lane, she didn't vanish. She opened the door, stepped out, and walked toward the house. I watched her silhouette cross the porch, push the door open, and step inside. The door clicked shut. I sat there, trembling, not sure what I'd just witnessed. That night, I dreamed of Emily sitting on the porch, her dress dry, her face peaceful. "Thank you for letting me finish," she said. When I woke up, my hands were still shaking. I checked my dashcam footage, half expecting it to be blank. The video showed the door opening, then closing, but no one was there, except, for a split second, there was a glitch, a faint, blurry shadow crossing the porch. Too vague to be sure. I played it over and over, my skin crawling, trying to convince myself it was just the rain. I went back to the house the next day. It was empty, the windows dark, the porch light off. A neighbor saw me knocking and came over. Nobody's lived there since Harold passed, she said. 3 years ago, my stomach dropped. I'd spoken to him, heard his voice, felt his hand on my arm. I dug through old newspapers at the library and found his obituary, Harold Grayson, died 2022. But my phone still had the audio I'd recorded that night. His voice clear as day, telling me about Emily. This wasn't a ghost story. It was a love story that refused to end. Emily needed someone to bring her home. Harold needed to let her go. And me, I was the one who carried their weight, who bridged the gap between their world and mine. I still hear her voice sometimes, soft as the rain, asking for a ride. I don't drive at night anymore. County Road 12 is just a stretch of asphalt to most folks. But if you're out there at 1 a.m. and see a girl in a prom dress by the side of the road, stop. Not because she needs you, but because she's giving you a chance to be part of her final story. And if you do give her a ride, don't check the back seat too often. Sometimes she whispers,